through Robert Black, who used to be an attorney that was here. He introduced me to a nonprofit organization that kind of helps support men and men supporting each other, and that introduced me to a few other people, which got me into the Trenton real estate market. I bought my first property out there in Trenton for $5,500. Put just under $6,500 into it, and got it rentable, and have a tenant in there paying $950 a month in rent. That kind of turned into another deal, which I just found a property while I was in the middle of that one. I found a property. I didn't have the money to also renovate it, so I kind of flipped it to another investor, and it just kind of one thing led to another. A little bit over a year after that, I said, you know what, I'm at a point where I only have as much money as I have and as much as I can raise. I get deals that come to me all the time, and rather than just throwing out the deals, I started kind of packaging them up and reselling them to other investors. So I put together a little slideshow, talk a little bit about the company and what I do and how I do it. Some basics about real estate investing. Obviously, if it's done right, it can be profitable. On the flip side, if it's not done right, it could be a real tragedy. The investors that I work with, most of them don't really have a great knowledge in real estate or investing. They usually are professionals that have other jobs and don't have time to find deals, manage them, and all that kind of stuff. But they have money that they want to do something with other than just having it in a bank account making 1%, or a stock market where the returns aren't as solid. So most of my investors are from out of town. I have a few from here, but I have Brooklyn, New York, Boston, Israel, and mainly, again, they're people that have money, or some of them don't even have money. I work with two investors that I help convert IRA money into something called a self-directed IRA, and we're able to use that money to invest in real estate, just like having a bank account that you're investing in. And it's not that difficult to set up. Why Trenton? Again, Trenton, I started there with $5,500, and that's one of the reasons a lot of people think that they need a lot of money to get involved in real estate investing. Trenton is one place where you really don't need a lot of money. Our average deal is around $30,000 all in. Purchase, renovation, getting a tenant ready, getting a tenant in there. So, and the average rents are about $950 a month. So $30,000, $950 a month is the kind of average deal. Besides selling properties to people that want to own the real estate as investors, some people are, want to have that tangible, I have a title, I have a deed, I own the property. But the downside to that is that the returns are based on whatever's happening with the property, right? So if there's no tenant that month, or we're middle of renovations or whatever else, that there's no money being generated. So I also kind of raise capital to do deals. Like I mentioned, my 30-second commercial, I have a deal, I have the property, we're looking for $16,000 to get it renovated and get a tenant ready. We're looking at 4 to 6 months to turn that around, and we're offering 10% return. So somebody could, instead of $30,000, they could lend outside in $16,000, and in 6 months see a return of 10%. We also have deals. Sometimes we put together a few different investors, so we can do it. Like that $16,000 deal, I might get 3 investors with $5,000 and put them together and and do a deal like that. Another reason that Trenton is desirable is the longest period of time that it's taken us to evict a tenant. Not that we really want to have to do that, but if we have to, 1.5 months is about the longest that it's taken us to evict a tenant. The landlord-tenant court is, I guess, we can call it landlord friendly, but typically the way, the court goes is like, you're living there, do you want to continue living there? Well, you got to pay the rent. If you don't want to continue living there, figure out, you'll have 7 days to get out. If they do want to stay there and there's a legitimate reason that they're not paying the rent, like, I don't know, it's the winter time, their heat hasn't been working, the landlord hasn't fixed the heat, that's a legitimate reason for somebody not to pay their rent. The court will still force them to pay the rent, but they'll pay it to the court, and the court will hold on to that till the problem is resolved. You'll have another hearing, and then the court will decide how much goes to the landlord, how much goes to the tenant as a discount for the hassle. Higher than traditional market returns. As we know, and Tom can talk about it. The statistics show that stocks, on average over a large period of time is about 10%. If you're not, pulling in and coming out and so on. But most people don't actually invest that way. They start freaking out, they pull their money out, they start buying things when stuff is going up. So their real returns aren't typically to be the 10% that the stock market averages. With us, our average, I have all of the properties that I've sold over the last 3 years, including the ones that I have, they've averaged about 9.5% return. And that's, from, start to finish.
And that's increasingly difficult to get.
Yeah, I mean,
in the stock market.
Sure.
Increasingly difficult.
And again, the prices are a little bit higher. The stock market right now is, at an all-time high, so who knows when that's gonna resolve itself. In Trenton, we're not gonna be seeing, appreciation anytime soon, so this is not something that somebody would wanna put their money into and see appreciation. I'm gonna sell the house in 2 years because I, made another, $20,000 on appreciation. This is not the market for that. This market is for the rental returns. And then, we have alternative ways of investing. So I talked about a self-directed IRA. We have some lenders that are willing to do basically like a revolving credit type of thing at like 8%. You have to have a 700 FICO score. So people that don't necessarily have the cash but are interested in getting involved in real estate investing can go to one of these lenders, do their pretty quick application, and they'll get $20,000-$30,000 to invest, and then go from there. There's a few things. Trenton has a bad reputation. A lot of people, the minute I say Trenton, they're pretty much minds have shut off, and they're not really interested in investing there. But there are some good things happening in Trenton, and there's a $6 million Dunkin' Donut factory being put in. Should be ready by the end of September 2017. The unemployment rate in Trenton has been getting lower. We're getting closer to the national average. Really, 10 minutes already? All right. And
You can continue on for another 5 minutes.
Okay. And I get another 20? No, just the state of New Jersey just approved this company called Maestro for a $17 million tax credit to bring in more jobs in Trenton. So the state and the city are working hard to try and find ways to bring industry and other things in. And then there's a few Trenton pillars of industry that have been there forever that are seeing some growth. This company, City and Beef, they've been around there for a long time. They just started new product lines, which means they're hiring more people now. Case Pork Roll Company, which has been there for many, many years, is expanding their factory for the first time in 75 years. There's a lot of other things going on. There's actually, you know, Terry, you know, to kind of speak to some of your background, but there's lots going in, you know, kind of right around the train station. There'll be 138 units that are, you know, higher end, energy efficient units. So that's those some of the good news in Trenton. And I just go through a couple, you know, before and afters. These ones don't really show like some of the severe, you know, here's a little bit more of a, you know, a trashed out kitchen. You know, we don't do high-end renovations. We do, you know, just the bare minimum in order to get past the city COs. And you know, this particular deal, we bought the property for 10 grand. We put in 15 grand, and the rent on this one is $875. So you know, you know, they're pretty good returns. There are some areas in Trenton where the prices are going up. These are, you know, a lot of investors that have been investing in Trenton for a long time kind of start out in the, you know, hood areas with the really low end stuff, and then, you know, as they're building their capital, they'll move up to some of the, you know, higher end properties. What I found is that the returns on the higher end properties aren't really that much better. It costs almost double to buy one of the better properties in a better neighborhood. The rents don't go up that much, so it's not like double the price, double the rent. But you know, it's a little bit more secure. Your tenant stays a little bit longer. The renovations aren't as much, but again, over time, it still seems, at least, you know, based on the numbers and my experience, that the hood properties are, you know, still a higher return. Any questions? So I think that's my time. Thank you.
Thank you, Avi. And if anyone knows of any investors that want to get 10% back on their money, I'm all Avi. Trenton makes, the world takes, right, Avi? All right. So next up, we're moving to the most